Our Democrat of the day is running for Senate District 47, which is Susan Kent's current seat. She has decided not to run again, the former Senate minority leader. But stepping in to run in 47 is Nicole Mitchell, and she's kind enough to join us to talk about her campaign. Hi, Nicole. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for the time. I do appreciate it. I want to start off with something I don't get to talk to too many people about. I was U.S. Army. You as well were military, correct?
I am. Actually, I'm still in the Guard. I hit, please don't do the math on this, but I hit 30 years this summer.
You're still younger than me. Well, you were in the Air National Guard and was the National Guard and then the Air Force Reserves. Are you still in the Air Force Reserves?
It's usually either one or the other at the time. So it was in the Guard and then the Reserve. When I was in the Reserve, I was in the Hurricane Hunters for 16 years.
Yeah.
And then transferred back into the Guard a couple years ago for a commander position. And
you've worked weather here in town. You've been a weather reporter here in town on radio as well as on TV. But boy, I mean, the Hurricane Hunters, first of all, I imagine a little turbulence, but my goodness, that must have been fascinating scientifically to be able to do stuff like that.
Yeah, I've done Cat 5s, Hurricane Katrina, Harvey, just a bunch of really notable ones. Fascinating both to be inside, seeing Mother Nature kind of at her roughest, but also really important modeling, and it helps determine track and intensity and helps decide where to evacuate and all that stuff. So it was fabulous work.
Well, wonderful. You've had a very good career as a weather reporter and, of course, still working with the military in some capacities. But all of a sudden, you felt a different calling. Talk about your decision to run for office in Senate District 47.
Well, I grew up in Woodbury, and District 47 is all of Woodbury, part of Maplewood.
Yeah.
Grew up here, even as I moved around for work, kind of always knew I'd be back in Minnesota, and now raising my family in Woodbury, which is my son and currently 2 foster sons. I've always done volunteer work. Since I was a teenager, I think my first volunteer was at Children's Hospital in St. Paul. And as I moved, women's shelter, homeless shelter, and then started doing a lot of work with children who were abused and neglected. And I just see that need both from the military, as a scientist, watching climate change, working with children and other groups that are marginalized. If you really want to affect change and help people, the best way to do it, or one of the many ways to do it, is policy. Who are we protecting? Are we protecting the most vulnerable in our society? Are we funding the things that need to be funded, like quality education, special needs programs, things like that? So I'm going to jump into the fray and hopefully make a difference.
Woodbury, it's interesting. Something we've talked with Senator Kent about numerous times. It is an amazingly cute town. I actually spent a lot of time over there. My son played baseball. My daughters play soccer, so we've gone over for tournaments and playing over there. And it's always been amazing because in your life, that town has changed so dramatically, but it's the epitome of what I call how you grow a community correctly, because they have done a magnificent job at laying out that city, developing that city, making sure the roads and the commercial, all that stuff is all taken care of. They've done a really good job out there. So it's kind of one of those cities and one of those suburbs that I kind of point people to. It's like, look what they're doing in Woodbury. We need to be doing that in a lot of other places.
Right. When my family moved there in '86, I think along the stretch of Valley Creek, which is kind of the main road, there were 3 stoplights on the whole thing. Now I don't even think I can count how many. But one of the things I love, besides, incredible schools, incredible people, is the communities are really built around parks. And, I'm an outdoors person. And so I just love being able to just go a short walk and hit a trail and walk around a lake or whatever else. So I really, really love that part of it.
What would you like to champion? As obviously, this is it's a city that's grown from a relatively small suburb. It's become a major suburb now. What are some of the issues, more of the issues? I mean, you've talked about a few of them already, but what are some of the more of the issues that you would like to address if you became a senator from 47?
Well, as I said, I have a number of things that are really meaningful to me. Children education with fostering. I have experience with special needs, making sure veterans are taken care of. I've been an election judge since 2018. I want to make sure Minnesota does such a fabulous job at elections and making sure people really have access to vote. I want to make sure that gets maintained, just keeping our communities safe. Yeah, I I have so many things that interest me, but hopefully, that's the beautiful thing about the legislature. You're working on all sorts of things, so I'll hopefully get a hand in all of those.
Let's talk a little bit about, I mean, obviously you've got kids and education here. There is a big fight looming. And it's been one of the things that Education Minnesota has put out a lot of very good, social media posts here that talks about how much money the Democrats of the DFL House has put forward for education in each different school district, with comparing that to the number that the Republicans in the Senate have put in there, which is zero. Yeah. And those are wonderful. And as a matter of fact, I've told the DFL, you're fools if you don't have that up on in every school district in the state, showing the difference there. The reality is we need to get the Senate back in the hands of the DFL, because this is, you can't fix problems like this if you have one side of the aisle that's basically saying, no, we're not going to even put any money into our schools unless you basically give us a conservative education system with vouchers and private schools and charter schools everywhere. That's not how you're going to build a good education system if you keep doing what the Republicans want to do.
No, and I've lived in other parts of the country. Obviously, I grew up here and moved back here, but in between, I've lived in other parts of the country where they were doing some of those things, and it just guts the public school system. Yeah. And one of the things I've always bragged on when I've been other places is how wonderful Minnesota's public school is. And unless we invest in it, we're not going to maintain that quality. And the other thing is it needs to be accessible for everyone. Not everyone lives somewhere where they can have a voucher or be going to a private school, whatever else. You have a lot of disenfranchised communities. As I said, I have experience with special needs children. And so you need to make the public school something that functions and is a safe place for everyone to come, because if you taking the money out of it, you're really going to have people that are left behind.
And Nicole, if I can tell you, I'm in Hopkins. My kids are in the Hopkins district, and they did that. They brought down all the walls, and they brought, there wasn't when I was a kid, the special needs kids were in the trailer behind the gym. That's where they went to school, and they got. It's so great to see there are school districts that are now starting to say, no, we're bringing these kids in. They're just part of the student population, and the value not only for the special needs kids, but as well for just the regular kids. It is wonderful, and I would love to see that. I mean, what I saw in Hopkins was truly an inspired and successful, trial run with this, and I would love to see every other school district do the same thing.
Right. One of my foster children is in the kind of special program, but he, not a lot of stuff that he needs. But it's nice that they have, the combined activities, they monitor it closely. And then in a case like his, where it's going to be appropriate for him to kind of merge back into the mainstream, then he'll be able to do that, because, that's going to be what's best for him. What's best for another kid might be something different. But to go back to your funding issue, those programs need to be funded. And sometimes they have to take money out of the general program to fund those programs. So then other things end up short. So we need to be properly funding everything. That'll help with class sizes. That'll help with the kids that need individual attention. We just need to do a better job.
Nicole Mitchell is joining us, Senate District 47 Democrat of the day. You'd mentioned, we should mention when you described the district, this is the new redistricted district. It's Woodbury and part of Maplewood there. We can't ignore the existence of where we are at. The last 2 years, the pandemic has been going on here. Talk about some of the things that you noticed with healthcare and the healthcare system, and where the state government can help shore up problem areas within the state.
Well, I think, oh, wow, that's kind of a deep dive. So obviously, I think everyone needs to have better access to quality health care. And kind of tied to that, I know I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent, making sure that family leave and things like that are more accessible to everyone as well. Because, I had the experience where we had COVID exposures, and then you'd have to pull the kids out for a week.
Yeah.
And, then I'm not able to go into work. And, so I think we need to kind of do a better job of everything even wrapped around that. But to your original question, there's so many people that are underinsured or even aren't insured at all because they can't afford it. You don't want people in a position where they don't have access to what they need, because it impacts everyone. It impacts people's ability to work and function and, have a quality of life down the road. So I have the great benefit of, because I'm in the Guard, having good insurance that's reasonably priced.
Yes.
But so many people don't have that. And even I have challenges sometimes. Even my insurance, there have been times where they said, oh, we're just not going to cover that prescription. Yeah. Like, how can a healthcare company even say that they're just not going to cover something? So we clearly need to do a better job.
You brought up veterans issues. You and I, that's near and dear to my heart. It's something that goes undercovered. You get a lot of talk on the Republican side about veterans issues, but I've yet to see them put forward the money that they need to. They love them for photo ops, but they don't want to help with their health care, help with getting back into society after they've served their country. Talk a little bit about some of the veterans issues that you'd like to work with there.
Well, I completely agree with you. People say a lot of nice things. People say, I support education, I love our veterans, but what are they actually doing? And so if you look at the Democrats, a lot of the really good policies to take care of veterans are actually coming out of the Democratic Party. One of the things that we definitely need to shore up is making mental health more not only accessible, but non-retribution. If someone throws up their hand and says, I'm struggling, we have a huge suicide problem within the military and in society in general with, COVID and everything else, where we need to make it a friendlier environment for people to admit that they're having those problems and then have the access to care. So again, definitely for veterans, but I would actually expand that to so many settings. Minnesota has a pretty solid VA program.
Yes.
My sister actually works at the VA hospital in Minneapolis, but we need to make sure that we keep that. Where I live in Washington County, we have some great programs in place to help with veterans homelessness, and we have we've effectively eliminated homelessness in Washington County. But we need to make sure that we're expanding that to other areas and using some of those model programs to make sure that veterans have reliable housing, health care, and everything else that they need to, especially if it's something that came out of their military service. We owe that.
Well, and that's interesting because you brought that thing up with Washington County. I know that pilot program was one of the counties that we're working on there. It does work, and you just got to be proactive. You can bring these agencies together to help. It just is even though we've seen the success stories, there still seems to be this reluctance to do that. And as someone, I have no problem saying that you have to take care of your veterans. It's such an important element of our society, and yet time and time again, and sometimes even the Democrats, they fail when it comes to this. And it's something that I think that if we need to step up more, because there are a lot of people out there, like I said, in Washington County, that have done a lot of really good work to try to address these issues. It just is something that when something works, you have to be ready to take that statewide.
Right. And I would like to also mention, and I found this amazing when I was running, that it seems that in the House and Senate, we haven't had a female veteran in over a decade, or at least by the time I would be elected, it would be over a decade. And so I think it helps to just have representation, because what female veterans are going through is different than what male veterans are going through. So hopefully being able to address also, specific needs of different populations within the military and being a little bit more sensitive to that as well.
One final thing, if I can ask you, obviously with your expertise in weather here, talk about what you have seen. Climate change is undeniable. I mean, every weather person I ever talked to has said the same thing. Oh yeah, this is going on and this is going on badly. Talk a little bit about that, because from your perspective, it's an incredibly valuable one as well to get into St. Paul.
Right. So I've been covering it for years and years, even when more people were on the denier track. I think obviously, more people are realizing like, oh, yeah, this is a real thing. But just look at our last year here in Minnesota. We had an exceptional drought over the course of the summer, followed up by not only our first ever tornado in December, but a tornado outbreak, which is one of the largest numbers of tornadoes in any month, much less the fact that it was December and we've never had tornadoes recorded in December before. So climate change signs are all over the place. And they really, if I was going to say there was one big issue that kind of intersected with so many other things, it would be climate change, because it impacts more disparately, low income, minority populations. It impacts our agriculture, the drought, and what we're able to grow. It impacts, our energy resources when you've got record heat in the summer. So all of those things are things we have to work on. And even if someone still didn't believe it, we want to be cleaning up our environment and taking care of those things, because we want clean drinking water. We want, air that we can breathe. So all of those things are things we want to take care of. Minnesotans, I think, love their environment. A lot of us just love the natural beauty of the state, and we can both clean those things up and protect them, and also be having positive influence on climate change. But really rethinking some of the energy we're using, things like that, are something that we're going to have to do it as a state.
Yeah, I always love it when a Republican tells me, "Oh, well, I'm always who's against clean water." So, well, you are if you're going to trust the company that's never done it cleanly to do something in the state. So, I think that we can just do the basic common sense things and preserve what we've got, because one thing Minnesota is definitely is it's a treasure. It's got a lot of Great Lakes, forests, beautiful areas. We need to maintain those. And, right now it's just the climate itself changing is doing a lot of damage. I mean, yeah, tornadoes in December, tornado on the southern border yesterday. Yeah, it's some scary times when it comes to when you look at the weather.
Right. And in Woodbury specifically, and a few other surrounding communities have the same problem. We have the PFAS issue, the forever chemicals in our water. That's been a huge, huge issue here. We're going to be dealing with that for years to come. So we need to do a better job of protecting those natural resources for a number of reasons.
Nicole Mitchell, trust me when I say this, the Republicans are going to be shooting for this seat. And so we need to, they're going to, because they feel as if they're entitled to some of these suburbs. But, Nicole, you're an outstanding candidate here. This is one I want to encourage everyone who's listening right now. Help your local DFLer. By all means, help them out. But if you're in one of those seats that is relatively safe, get on out to 47, help out, door knock, donate if you can. Nicole, what's the website people should look for if they want to find out more about your campaign?
It's my name, NicoleMitchell.org. So NicoleMitchell.org. Yes, we love volunteers. I like to think we're a pretty friendly bunch, and we're firmly committed toward keeping this Senate seat blue.
Well, and it's Woodbury. Everyone out there is very friendly. I really liked Woodbury. I got out there because I'm on the west side, so I don't get over to that much. And so when I was over there for sports events, I was like, wow, Woodbury's cute. I like Woodbury a lot. So of course you're friendly. It's Woodbury.
Okay, my team is extra friendly. How about that?
There you go. Nicole Mitchell, once again, Senate District 47, NicoleMitchell.org. I'll link to everything a little bit later on. Nicole, all my best. Congratulations on running here, and I hope to see you in St. Paul before too long.
I do as well. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.